This segment of Naperville Sports Weekly is brought to you by the Daily Herald.
I'm joined by Claudio Torres, head wrestling coach here at Metea Valley High School. Thanks for joining me, Claudio.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the season just wrapped up. We just had state this past weekend, and Dylan Irvin made it all the way to the finals. And one thing that you had mentioned right after that was just how cool it was getting to see him take part in the Grand March. What was that experience like for you as a coach, being there as well, you know, seeing Dylan, seeing the Metea Valley colors out there, and just the whole environment of the state finals?
Grand March is something that I've been looking at since about like 1991, so we're talking about 25 years, and I'm very happy that Dylan was able to experience that. As a high schooler, I never did. I went downstate twice and didn't make it to the Grand March, so it's been kind of eating me up a little bit. So when Dylan actually won his semifinal bout, I gave him a thank you, and we hugged, and it was a great moment that I'll always remember. But you know, I also thanked him for helping me achieve one of my dreams. You know, coming out to the Grand March was something I looked at many years, and I figured, you know what, why wait till later? Let's get it this year while we could. And you know, Dylan wrestled a phenomenal tournament. The finals didn't go the way we were hoping, but you know what? I'm okay with his with what he's accomplished this year. He's accomplished a ton with our preseason that we put together. Probably the most time-consuming preseason I've ran as a head coach for any wrestler.
And yeah, Dylan pretty much mentioned the same thing, that was just, you know, tournament after tournament and just never taking a day off almost.
Yeah, we kind of went about 5-6 days a week, and on our off day we did something else, you know, whether it was lifting or running, and then we put together 5 national tournaments that'll get him some big-time college exposure, you know, let him know where he's at, and then that also prepared him for the season, and he ended up with taking second to state. So he had a great year, and he lost to 3 nationally ranked opponents, one in the state finals, and the other 2 that are nationally ranked, and then lost to Max Irie, but he, you know, ended up beating Irie, you know, 3 times after, you know,
out of the 4, yeah.
3 out of the 4. So Max is a great wrestler, and my hat's off to him. But yeah, so now we're on to the next step and trying to become a Fargo All-American for off-season.
And then Dylan mentioned as well that the college search is going to be starting. As a head coach, how much part of that are you involved in, whether it be, you know, possibly pointing him towards a specific school, or maybe kind of just helping him kind of keep his options open?
Well, it's pretty cool because I'm such a young head coach, and like I said, we're barely on our, you know, we're such a young program that this is all a learning experience. It's not now necessarily. Last year was my first year. We have 3 college wrestlers now that wrestled at Metea, and I learned a lot with speaking with colleges and coaches and talking about scholarships. That I'm not great, but I know what needs to be done, I would say, as far as getting these guys interested in what they're looking for, and as far as my involvement with Dylan and colleges. It's going to be a little different. Last year we had Joey Reardon and Sam Elston and Keenan Carter all looking at different schools where they were going to wrestle at the next level. And I was involved with their, you know, search and, you know, figuring out what they were doing as well. I was heavily involved with Keenan Carter's, but with Dylan's been with me since he's in 7th grade. So, I mean, nonstop year-round since 7th grade. So I have a little bit more of, not necessarily a say, but my involvement. His mother and I trust each other very much, and she knows that I want what's best for him.
Yeah.
And she trusts me with her son, and so when a parent tells you they trust you with such a big decision like this, I take it serious, and I'm gonna figure out where I recommend, you know, Dylan to go, but he's gonna have to make that ultimate decision himself, and a lot of it's gonna be depend on, you know, financial, you know, as far as how much money he's gonna come out of pocket. Or right now we have a couple full ride offers, you know, where he won't pay anything. So for these other schools to, you know, compete with something like that, it's gonna be, you know, pretty, not necessarily difficult, but it has to be, you know, the recipe has to be right, let's say, you know. But his mother's involved. I keep her in the loop. We talk about it all the time. But for like the last month and a half, we really haven't. You know, I kind of told Dylan that right now the goal is to win state. Get down state, win state, get on the podium, finish strong. And if you do that, the colleges will come. Right now he has about 9 or 10 colleges that he's figuring out where he's going to go.
Yeah.
He's allowed 5 D1 visits and multiple D2s and D3s and whatnot. So we're going to sit back later this week and mark these dates in the calendars and let these coaches know where he's going to go. And a lot of it's going to be dependent on his major and what he wants to do in the future and if the school has it to offer.
And it was just such a phenomenal season for Dylan throughout, you know, getting 41 wins, but another wrestler on the team with a breakout season, Phillip Sims, in his freshman year. Unbelievable season for him. Unfortunately got the injury at sectionals and wasn't able to make the trip to state, but being a state qualifier as a freshman, as a head coach, you know, seeing what he's able to do and, you know, getting to watch some of the older guys, you know, have just such an interest every time he was stepping on the mat. What was that experience like, you know, just watching Phillip every week?
When Phillip came in day one during preseason and talked about it, me and him sat down and had a heart-to-heart about what he had to do, the time commitment, the focus, and more importantly than anything, you know, every coach should, I mean, as far as my opinions, share the confidence in what they're doing with their program. And I have the utmost confidence in what's going on in this program with academics, with lifting, with teaching life skills and wrestling. And, you know, we talk about wrestling, but it's not only about wrestling as a coach. You know, I want to be here for these kids, you know, outside of school as well. You know, these kids call me up if they have problems at home, if they have problems with their schoolwork or need advice about life. You know, I had about 3 or 4 kids that flew in from college to see me on my birthday, which was pretty cool. You know, I wasn't expecting. They surprised. They rang my doorbell, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" You know, they flew in. So I talked to Phillip about not necessarily focusing only on wrestling, but everything. You know, I said, if you came here only for wrestling, and that's your ultimate goal, then, you know, I might not be the one. You know, and you come into the program, you're ready to wrestle, but, you know, I focus on the big things, you know, and wrestling's not necessarily number 1 on my list. You know, is my job a wrestling coach? Absolutely, but more I'm a life leader, and I try to teach these kids lessons in life. And, you know, as the kids walk into the program and they come in here, you know, I tell them, hey, there's other things involved as well, you know, and being a good human being and having your priorities straight is a big thing. And that's one thing that I worked with Dylan when we started, you know, when he was in 7th grade here. Doing our kids club program and wrestling, and I talked to him about life lessons and learning to grow from them. And that's the same approach I took with Phillip this year. You know, Phillip came in and I said, hey, we got to focus on your academics. You know, I'm on his tail left and right with academics. You know, he's going to end up having very good grades by the time he graduates, and I see him wrestling D1 in the future. You know, he came in ready to work. He started off the year, funny, as a 6 and 7, and he was you know, obviously frustrated at that time, and I told him, it's okay, you're doing fine. You know, he lost to 4 of his losses came to number 1 ranked kids in the state.
Oh, wow.
And the other 6 losses, he beat everybody. Yeah. Also, he beat them after he beat, you know, they beat Phillip. So it was great, you know, because he was learning from his experiences. And we do a lot of film breakdowns. I do a lot of film breakdowns with my kids and the varsity kids especially, obviously. And we find out what they're doing wrong, and then we look at it in slow-mo, and we'll have a 7 or 8 minute video, and we'll take 30 minutes looking at that, or 40 minutes. I've taken an hour and a half off of something that I see, you know, 20 seconds in a video. And I'm committed to the kids, and Phillip is committed to the program. So as far as Phillip having a great season, yeah, because he's committed. You know, he understood the big picture. He's respectful, he's a hard worker, and he's gonna grow from these experiences, and absolutely outstanding to qualify in the hardest sectional in the state as a freshman. And he was winning at the time when, you know, we injury defaulted out. He was winning 19-7.
Yeah.
You know, so to be winning 19-7, and then there was only 28 seconds left, and I had to pull him out, and it tore me up inside, but I told the trainer, we were all talking, like, his safety is number one concern. And, you want to win, but you want the kid to be safe and to be able to continue to wrestle. So the good thing is he did travel with us to the state tournament. It was his first time seeing the Grand March. So if that doesn't light a match, nothing will. He's excited. Afterwards, we're at the hotel, and he's just talking about the experience and just telling me, like, he can't wait. So he has 4 weeks, the beginning of April. We start to get ready to work, and he's gonna be a hammer, and I see big things for him. He has goals of wrestling Division I, and he wants to be a national champion in college. And there's no gray area. He tells me exactly what he wants, and I said, well, that's great. I'm along for the ride. Let's go. Let's do it.
Now, you covered a lot of your responsibilities off the mat as well, which always great to see, hear from a coach who really, has that interest in his athletes' lives outside of the program as well. But looking at results-based items, one thing that you've mentioned is you always want to have one state qualifier. And look, you showed me the wall when we came in. Guys like Austin Graham, Breon Hosier, Keenan Carter, and now Dylan Irvin's going to be heading up there. And just coming in, getting kind of just that reminder and seeing the guys. And one thing Dylan mentioned was that was motivation. He wanted to be up there with those guys, and now he knows that guys like Philip and other people coming in the program will see him and those guys. And
just
help him leave that legacy.
When you go around the state, you go into all these wrestlers for weigh-ins, and and everybody has their philosophy, and I'm okay with that. It's okay to be different. But I know the heart and the hard work that these kids put in it. And when the school first opened, I thought to myself, like, I don't want to just put a name on the wall like most schools do. The kid goes on stage and they get a marker or they get some white, some paint, and they just paint the wall name. And I said, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a kid here that works 4 years round, or all his life. You have a kid that's been wrestling since he was a little kid. So we came up with our Wall of Fame for anybody that's a state qualifier or All-American for Fargo, which is Freestyle and Greco Nationals in the summer. And anytime they go down state or become All-American, they get something called a 2x2, which is 2 foot by 2 foot, and it's a collage picture. And if they ever get a state champion or a national champion, they get a 2x4, which is 2 foot by 4 foot tall. So before the school opened up, I actually put a 2x2 up there that said who will be the first. And we always talked about it. And Austin Graham was our first one. And ever since he got his picture up there on our first year, everybody wants one now. And it's just like, okay, we want to get our picture. Because the way I look at it is everybody joins a program or everybody goes to school. How can you leave your mark on the school? Are you going to be just another kid that comes to the school, graduates and leave and nobody knows about? Or they know about you but not necessarily for athletics? Yeah, so we came up with this idea, and it gets to be addictive. So now you have like Keenan Carter. He went downstate twice, and he was a 2-time All-American. So he has 4 of them up there. So now Dylan got his, and somebody's goal is to beat 4. So now the goal for Dylan is to get his All-American this summer and get another one. Well, now Philip is, on the other hand, he got his first 2x2 as a freshman. So, yeah, he could easily, break the mold and get, a lot more than 4 up there, if he sticks with the plan. And I don't see anything but the best for him. So he's a great kid. He has great family support. His mother's very supportive of wrestling. We communicate very well. And, yeah, I see him getting a ton of those 2x2s, or if not 2x4s. I could easily see, in my opinion, Philip being a state champion and a national champion.
So that's a very unique thing that you do as a coach. Another unique thing, and we did a story on it, touching on it a little earlier, but I kind of want to just cover the amount of coaches on the staff here. A lot of teams will have 2-3 coaches, but you guys have 9 coaches here at Metea. What was the kind of the motivation behind coming in and kind of wanting? Was that just for more of a one-on-one feel at most practices?
I think throughout my years of coaching, I realized that kids are kids. As a coach, you have to be a realist and know that, hey, these kids are kids. Even though they could train their butt off and they could work hard, but they're still kids. So for instance, you'll have a kid that maybe might be a little tired. Stay up doing homework, you have another kid that's another tired. So you put those 2 kids together, it's gonna be they're gonna train together, they're gonna go through the motions, they're gonna do what they have to do and practice hard. But it's not the same if you put them with a grown man, somebody that has college wrestling experience and stuff like that. So it's just mad exposure, So like for instance, Dylan, Dylan had 3 coaches rotate on him, 3 different body style coaches. We had, tall, strong coaches that would make him realize that. I have 2 heavyweight coaches. I have some lightweight coaches with, Axel Rizzo, Kevin Roth, Luke Sharp, that they're as good as they come. You get those guys, and those 3, rotated with like Philip throughout the whole season. So Philip is completely different now than he was in November.
Yeah.
Completely different, and watch out for him in another 1 year from now. We could easily be right here talking about Philip being in the Grand March, and the 9 coaches are able to give more feedback. There's always going to be a general and there's going to be soldiers, but as long as the general explains the game plan to the soldiers, then everybody's on the same page. The problem is when lots of times people won't want that many coaches because they have 9 generals.
Yeah.
You can't have 9 generals in one army. But you can have a general and have 8 soldiers. And my coaching staff is phenomenal. We get along great. We hang out. My wife makes us a Christmas dinner, and all my coaches come over for Christmas. So we'll have a packed house of wrestling coaches, with their significant others. And we're like 15 people in my basement. We're all hanging out, playing pool, and having a great dinner, and it's good times. And when your coaches see that you're a regular person as well, then they're more likely to go to war with you in practice.
Now, with the school just opening back in 2009, you mentioned this is just the 5th season of having a full class of freshmen through senior wrestlers. What's something that's going to stand out for you from this year, whether it be getting to take part in the Grand March, or perhaps something that happened off the mats, or maybe just a funny moment for practice?
Or for the wrestling program?
For you personally, and perhaps the program as well. Maybe just a moment that's going to stand out from
for me personally.
This season.
I could honestly say my professional year, this academic year has been actually probably my most memorable of my career. I was a guest speaker for Veterans Day because I'm an Army vet. I got another television station, Univision, the Spanish television station. I got like a Impact of the Month, like basically a Teacher of the Month award from them, and I was on television. And then I finished my grad school. But more importantly is as far as the program, every coach, I want to be the coach to have multiple at state. So this year we were at the Batavia section, and I talked to a lot of coaches. A lot of coaches are like, didn't even have 1 downstate, and I was blessed to have 2.
Yeah.
2 downstate and 1 in the finals in such a young program, and some people might not think, oh, that's a lot, because you have so many other schools that maybe are getting more, but I'll tell you right now, Metea is ready to go, and we have big things coming in the future, and I mean, it's looking bright, I'm excited about, kids in the program and the work ethic we have and the people who are around my kids, and, I see great things in the future for Metea.
Well, congratulations on the successful season, getting the 2 state qualifiers, and best of luck moving forward and everything that you do in the rest of your time here at Metea.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Claudio.